In this video, we're going to talk about how we can use Armitage in order to attack an internet-facing web server. Now, Armitage is just simply a graphical user interface that is presented in front of Metasploit. Metasploit is a common hacking tool that is used in order to perform penetration testing for securing your environment, as well as used by hackers because it has quite a few hacking tools built into it. So we're going to go ahead and use Armitage in order to test how successful our environment is and actually give an example of how we can break into it. So a little background about our environment. In theory, we are out here. We are the hackers outside on the internet, and we want to attack our Windows 2003 SQL server, which is being published through the firewall on port 80. So attacking that machine or attacking that port should hopefully get us access to our Windows 2003 machine, at which point we should hopefully be able to pivot to attack our other machines on the inside trust. Let's give it a shot. So in a prior video, we talked about a WebDAV vulnerability. We did an NMAP scan against that port, against that firewall, and found that it was running WebDAV and that there were known vulnerabilities for WebDAV on that specific version of operating system. With that being said, that means that there is a way for us to possibly get in. So there's the output of ZenMap. Down here we can see it is running WebDAV specifically on IIS 6.0. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to get out of ZenMap and I'm going to go ahead and fire up Armitage from a Kali machine, or backtrack in this case. Just go ahead and type in Armitage and it starts firing up. Default credentials are normally successful. It says Metasploit currently isn't running. Do you want me to start it? Yes. It will then pop up a Java message saying, you can't connect. This is actually because Metasploit is starting right now. It's trying to connect to Metasploit, but it hasn't gotten there yet. So we just simply wait for that. Metasploit will come up and then the connection will succeed. Alright, so Metasploit is started. We can actually see it down here in the prompt. The nice little Metasploit banner messages. What we want to do is we want to import our hosts that we want to attack. So we're going to go up to hosts and say import hosts. Add hosts, excuse me. And here we can just type in the IP addresses of the hosts we want. In this case, I am targeting this specific IP address. So I say add, and I will see my host show up here in my window right there. So what I need to do from Armitage's standpoint is I need to right click and say scan. This is going ahead and scanning the host itself. It's checking to see what ports are open, what operating system it is, everything that we actually did via NMAP. This is not always a great idea, especially if we just did this with NMAP or ZenMap, because we ran a full scan across the environment and now we're running another scan across the environment. Anybody paying attention to the security logs or the firewall messages are going to think something is questionable, or something questionable is going on. Alright, so it went ahead and it connected. If I hover over this, it tells me this is Windows Server 2003. That's awesome. Oh, looks like it's still running a little bit. Alright, from this point, I want to go ahead and go up to attacks and find attacks. And this is going to actually evaluate the server, or the machine that is in the environment here, and hopefully find valid attacks for me. It says attack analysis complete. You can now have an attack menu. Awesome. So now when I right click on this machine, I now have this attack menu, and I have lots of options that may or may not work against this. For instance, Weiss, I don't think I have a Weiss terminal on this machine, so it's probably not going to work. Same thing with Real Server. If you're not familiar, Real Media, a long time ago, had a Real Server. It was essentially, I think, YouTube for your own private company. That's probably not on this machine either. Specifically, we saw that there was an IIS attack, so we're going to IIS and IIS WebDAV upload ASP. It's the WebDAV attack that we knew about. So we're going to click on that. Look through here really quick. Localhost. This is pointing back to my Kali machine right here. This is the machine that it's going to connect back to. What port, local port, should it connect to? In this case, that's perfectly fine. The path that we're going to be connecting to, this I actually need to edit a little bit. We saw when we ran NMAP that the WebDAV path was a /WebDAV, and that's what I need to change this to. I'm actually going to delete where it says Metasploit. Type in WebDAV and then a /. So this will connect to the WebDAV directory on the server and then create a randomly named web page. Proxies, I'm not using any proxies, and then remote host is 216.111. That's the host I'm targeting. Remote port 80, and then vhost, virtual host. Not necessary. I do want to check here, use reverse connection. So the attack itself is a WebDAV execution attack. The reverse connection helps me deliver a payload, which is a reverse TCP payload. At this point, I click launch and it pushes out the attack, and we can see down at the bottom there, the exploit has started. Starts the reverse handler, uploads, moves WebDAV, then says it's deleting a file. This doesn't always work. We then see an error message saying, no, that was forbidden, but the Meterpreter session was opened. And thanks to Armitage being a graphical user interface, I can see, oh yeah, my gray computer there is now red. I am now on this machine, and I have successfully attacked it. So for instance, now if I right click on it, I now have Meterpreter 1 because this is session number 1. And I can go to interact and a Meterpreter shell. In order to further get the machine, I just simply type the command get system. I believe I can actually get that through here. Get system actually gets the entire system, gets me full system admin rights on the machine. Alright, got system via technique. And it's just that simple, because previously we scanned the machine and we found out that the environment was vulnerable to a WebDAV attack. We were able to use the WebDAV attack in order to exploit the machine and get us onto it. So if I'm a security engineer, what I want to do here is, now that I know this information, is I want to prioritize blocking of that vulnerability. Hopefully the WebDAV scan from NMAP told me that there was a vulnerability here, and so I actually put it on my list of things to be able to fix. Now that I've gone ahead as a pen tester and confirmed that yes, that was a really easy setup, that was a really easy way to be able to get into the machine and attack it, then I should prioritize that as a higher importance. Quite possibly to the point to where it's okay to take the service down, because the threat of having it online is worse than not having the service altogether. It might be a hard sell to some people in your management chain of this system has to go offline because it is insecure. But if you opened up your laptop and you showed them how quick and easy it is to do this, they're probably going to say, okay, that's probably okay to turn off, just because it is so possible to exploit. In fact, if I typed in just simply shutdown, hash dump will dump the hashes, get system, webcam, I believe it's just shutdown. shuts down the remote computer. If I type that, it will literally shut down the remote machine. And as we saw, it took very little skill, it took very little time in order to get this up and running. So it may be a little bit of a selling point in order to get your boss to be able to buy off on it, but prioritizing the fix, blocking web dev from the internet, or shutting the machine down altogether, or upgrading off of IIS 6.0 to something else that has a more secure web dev environment. There's a lot of options here as a security engineer that you can take in order to further secure the environment. As a hacker, well, I mean, literally, you didn't have to know any special skills at this point. Really, there was a short little process of going into hosts, add host, typed in the IP address, right-click the host, scan, and then attacks, find attacks. That's about all it took. Hopefully, if you're a security pen tester or an actual attacker, you're being a little intelligent as far as where your traffic is coming from, and so it's not coming back to your house that the FBI can trace you down to. But if you're a pen tester, maybe that is the valid solution for you to do as well. So there you go. I hope you found this information helpful, and I hope that it helps you secure your environment.